Welcome to On the Square with Councilman Johnson. Today we'll be discussing Black History Month and the importance of Black History Month, and our special guest is going to be Angela Lucky, the president of the NAACP. But until we get to that part, I would like to read about here's the story behind Black History Month and why it's celebrated in February. I want to give credit to NPR author Jonathan Franklin. Every February, the U.S. honors the contributions and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape the nation. Black History Month celebrates the rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are an indelible part of our country's history. First, there was Negro History Week. Critics have long argued that Black history should be taught and celebrated year-round, not just during 1 month each year. It was Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, who first set out in 1926 to designate a time to promote and educate people about Black history and culture. According to W. Marvin Delaney, he is a historian and the president of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Woodson envisioned a week-long celebration to encourage the coordinated teaching of Black history in public schools. He designated the second week in February as Negro History Week and galvanized fellow historians through the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which is founded in 1915. Woodson's goal from the very beginning was to make the celebration of Black history in the field of history a serious area of study, said Albert Broussard, a professor of Afro-American history at Texas A&M University. 50 years after the first celebration, President Gerald R. Ford officially recognized Black History Month during the country's 1976 bicentennial. Ford called upon Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And I will be discussing some Black inventors that invented things that we use every day. Like George Crump, he was born in 1824, died in 1914. Crump, a chef and restaurateur, is said to have unintentionally created the potato chip during the summer of 1853. They were made in response to a customer who sent back their fried potatoes after complaining they were too thick. Frederick McKinley Jones, 1893 to 1961, left his mark with the development of refrigeration equipment, receiving over 40 patents for it. In the 1930s, he began inventing automatic refrigerated air cooling units for trucks, trains, ships, and planes, which helped the preservation of food. You see, our history goes back, and our culture is very deep as far as what we've invented and what we've contributed to America. So we need to step back each month, for the month of February in particular, to do our research on Black history, what Black inventors have invented. There's a plethora of inventors, authors that we can go and learn something about. When I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, there are two people we talked about in the school system, Dr. Martin Luther King, which we celebrated that last month, and Malcolm X. Throughout the teachings in the public school system, they taught us that Dr. King was a good man. Malcolm X was not. He did not believe in conforming to the standards that was being brought upon Black Americans, and that's why they had two different teachings. One wanted to turn the cheek, that was Dr. King. Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. So there's two different thoughts, and just think about where we are today because of the bravery, the courageousness of these two Black leaders. Enough about that. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Angela Lucky.
Thank you. It's always, I'm always excited to come on your show, Councilman Kurt Johnson.
Thank you there. Thank you. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What does Black History Month mean for you personally?
Well, Black History Month personally means to me the richness of the history of African Americans. It, for me, growing up in Grand Prairie, Texas, I can remember going to the old city hall, and out near where the city hall was, we still had, it was a colored water fountain, and there was a water fountain that had the word white on it. And as a child, when I came up on this, the first thing I was thinking was about crayons, because when I saw the word colored, I was in my mind for some reason thinking color, and I was thinking about my crayons, and I remember asking an adult, what are they talking about with crayons, and they explained to me, because this was a part of, there was a demonstration in Grand Prairie with black leaders that was standing there to say that we need to remove the colored sign, the white sign, the water fountain that was at City Hall in Grand Prairie. So when I take a look at Black history, it reflects upon me. It reflects upon my upbringing, on what I've been taught about Black history. Some of the names that you mentioned, Malcolm X and Dr. King, that's just a few. Rosa Parks. Even we can go on to like Reverend Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson. These individuals paved the way. So for Black history, for me, it's leadership. It's about being proud of who you are. It's about leading, and it's not about being careful about the words that you say, or how the pronunciation of the words that you're saying. It's about being who you are and being proud of who you are.
Well, that's a nice story that you shared, because I have a very similar story coming from Shreveport, Louisiana. In the early 70s, I do recall walking down the sidewalks with my grandmother, and she always stepped aside when white men and white women walked by, and I never understood why. And it's like she would pull me to the side. And we weren't allowed to say certain things. We had to walk a certain way and talk a certain way, because they didn't want to draw attention to them, because I didn't understand what they were going through until later in life, how the Jim Crow era, the lynchings, people don't want to talk about it, but it happened. It's part of American history, what happened to those folks, because if it didn't happen, they wouldn't have pictures about it. They wouldn't write stories about it. They wouldn't have a museum about it. Where's the museum? Where is that at? We're in Alabama. I know I took my grandkids to Edmund Pettus Bridge so they can see the history. They don't understand it now, but they have pictures. But there was a museum where they showed all the lynchings by every city. We took them there. They're probably not going to understand that now. But when they look back at it, they're going to say, oh, I went there, because we're showing the history. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. Black Americans have suffered a lot, and you have to ask the question, where did color come in based on the complexion of someone's skin? How did color become the dividing force? So that's just something I'd like for our audience to look into. Where did the color come in to divide folks? It's never made sense to me. Just because the color of my skin, you have issues with me. Have issues with me for something else, that I'm a handsome man. I'm just joking. But anyway, I'm going to go to the next question. I appreciate that. How do you believe the recognition of Black History Month has evolved over the years?
I believe how Black history has evolved over the years. It's not the same Black history that I grew up in, where during Black history it was families, it was meaningful. Today, Black history is like it's February. We got to just put something together to recognize a culture that's been around for a long time, and people are putting things together just to be able to say I had a program or I had an event. Back in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, which I came along in the 60s when Black History Month came around. You would see diversity. You would see the embodies of African Americans of all descent, whether you're African, Native, that would embody the spirit of African American, would bring in that sense of culture of being proud. Today, some people don't even participate in Black History programs.
Well, a good point about our upbringings and the culture. I recall also that every year we had a family reunion. Everybody
Yes.
came down, no matter where they were at. They came down to Shreveport, Louisiana. All my cousins, aunts and uncles, but you don't see that today.
That's because the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the great grandmothers, the one family member that kept the family together, many of those people have gone, passed away, and it's just not a sense of love or family that we need to reunite. We need to make sure that family members know each other. So many people are so modern day with social media, Facebook, to where they're keeping in contact with loved ones through social media. But it's still needed today that families bring families back together and have family reunions, because that's where you're going to feel the most love. It's going to be with your family.
Absolutely. And I come from a very loving family. From mother, my father's side, that's nothing but love, hugs, and kisses every time we see each other.
I can tell.
I want to stop for a second and talk about some more inventors. George Washington Carver, born 1864 to 1943. He was he was a man famous for giving us peanut butter. Peanut butter. How many of us really love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
I do.
He increased the profitability of sweet potatoes and peanuts. Carver began conducting experiments in 1896 and created 518 new products from the crops. They include ink, dye, soap, cosmetics, flour, vinegar, and synthetic rubber. He publicly revealed his experiments in 1914. I'm sure everyone should be familiar with Madam C.J. Walker. She was born in 1867 to 1919, was the first African-American woman to become a self-made millionaire after creating a line of hair products geared toward black hair. And if you think about that today, I'm seeing the commercials, I'm seeing things about if you use certain products that you call this attorney, because things that was in that products that was not good for black women in their hair. And I've always appreciated women for wearing natural hair because of the natural beauty that comes with you wearing your natural hair.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, I'll go back to asking you another question. Can you share a significant figure or event from Black history that has particularly inspired or influenced you?
I have so many individuals that have inspired me. Some of the ones that I've mentioned: Shirley Chisholm, the late Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, Sally Moore, even you, Councilman Kurt Johnson. You inspire me. You inspire me because I look at a black man that have reached what I consider, you've made it. You made it to the city council. So, and what I say with that you made it to the city council, is that I remember the time growing up in Grand Prairie, there was no black people on the council. And so when I look at you, I say this is a retired, honorable individual that have served our country well in the United States Navy, and then on the council where you serve in our community. So you inspire me as well. And then I take a look at the late Ruthie Jackson, because when I look at Black history, I also look at the people that have tried to embody, as far as trying to understand or learn more about Black history. And when the late Ruthie Jackson was in Grand Prairie, that was something that she was passionate about, going into people's homes, learning about them, learning about their families, learning about the culture of African American history. And there's so many that I can think of. Even our
right wins,
current
we the people lose our rights.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. What I
They
admire
have no
about
clue
her
what
is
it means
that
to be truly pro-life.
she doesn't
If
mind
they
speaking
did,
her mind.
they'd
She
write
speaks
or at
for
least
what's right.
support
And
legislation
so I'm
that meets the
inspired
moment, a
by
moment full of death and
leaders
destruction that is
that's
crying out.
not hiding behind something, but that's out there that's speaking what needs to be said.
That's a very good point. I believe in speaking the truth. The Bible, there's a lot of Christians and non-Christians and spiritual people. Just speak the truth because they know where your energy is coming from. They're going to be able to feel it and understand this person is speaking the truth. And there are folks who don't want the truth to come out. And that's disappointing because, once again, I didn't think I was going to go there, but 2024 is the year of the truth, revealing the truth. The truth is going to come out on everybody. If you've been hiding behind things and doing things you shouldn't have been doing, Mother Earth is about to shake you up and let people see you and reveal you for what you've been doing behind these closed doors. That's why my spirit is always happy, not sad, because I know what's in store for me and what the Most High God has for me that no one can take away.
And someone else that inspired me that you don't really hear a lot about, or that you don't see any buildings named after this individual in Grand Prairie, and I'm really concerned with that. And that is the very first African American male, an African American person, to serve on Grand Prairie City Council, and that is James Kellum. Mr. James Kellum have paved the way not only for African Americans, but have paved the way for Caucasian, Hispanics, and Latinos. But when you drive around the city of Grand Prairie, we don't see nothing with Mr. James Kellum name on it.
Well, I think that's something we need to talk to Mr. Kellum about to see what we can do, because that is true. I think Mr. Kellum is an awesome man,
Yes.
with a brilliant mind that the folks around who know him will rather just keep it quiet, all the things he's done for this
Yes.
city.
He's done so much. He's given so much. And when we take a look at social service programs, when we talk about health care, even like with the Head Start, we would not have had a Head Start in 1968 if it had not been for people like Mr. James Kellum.
That's great. Okay, in what ways do you think Black History Month contributes to broader discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, with equity and inclusion, when we're looking at with education, I would like to see Black history. I would like for it to come back into the schools, into the curriculum. I feel that the right history, not the history that we grew up on, I think that the correct history, it needs to be put in a book. I honestly feel that children should know their heritage. They should know true Black history. They shouldn't have to leave a school district, and if they decide to go to a historical Black college or university, then they're finding out true Black history once they get to a university. I feel that children should have the option to say, I want to learn true Black history. So on the educational sense, and then when you come to the local municipalities, when we're talking about inclusion, that means from business contracts, that means if there's a small Black business owner, a large Black company, corporation, I think that they need to be embraced with being able to get a contract. And I hear this all the time, we can't find them. Well, do what the police department does when they're looking for minorities to recruit. They go where they can find them. They either go to historical Black colleges and universities. So if there's a shortage anywhere in our local municipalities, the leaders, it's up to them to go and find the individuals that would make this city great.
Well, let's be blunt about this. The indoctrination of history, that was intentional. So it's unfortunate that when I first went to college, taking a history class, the first thing the professor said, just want to let y'all know now, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. He said, I know what you've been taught. And that was said at Tarrant County Junior College, TCJC, back in the day. And that's when I went on my journey of looking at, okay, if that was not true, what else isn't true? And I will commend the Grand Prairie Police Department. I've seen them at HBCUs when I was recruiting for my company. They're there reaching out, trying to find qualified applicants with the minority community. So I'm going to go back to a little bit more black history, if you don't mind. Garrett Morgan was born in 1877 to 1963. It's safe to say that Garrett Morgan's most prominent original designs have saved thousands of lives since their inventions. Take his traffic signal. Yeah, the traffic signal that you see out on the street. Garrett Morgan was responsible for doing that. Then he put the lights on there. Red light, yellow light, green light. You know, we played that little game. Red light, green light, yellow light, stop. Remember as a kid, but he was responsible for that. I'm trying to find the gentleman who I can't think of his name. If I can't find it, that'll be fine. But they say Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but this gentleman invented the filament to go in the light bulb. So one would get credit for the light bulb, the other one get credit for the filament. Let's go to Lonnie Johnson. Johnson, born 1949, he's still around. Great man, Johnson. The engineer developed this mega water gun for his free time while working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So the super soakers that the kids play with, Lonnie Johnson is credited for inventing that. So let's go back to a couple more questions here. How can individuals and organizations honor Black history beyond the month of February?
Well, we have people like Romy Hill and Margie Harrison that we don't get to hear their names often. You know, like when we say their name, Margie Harrison and Romy Hill, we would not have had an educational school system if it had not been for those two ladies to petition Dallas County to get a school for Black children to attend. And that's how it came about, the all-Black school in Grand Prairie, the Dalworth High School. That was because two Black women that was teaching children inside of a church, inside of their homes. They had the courage to stand up to the county, elected officials at that time, and say, we want a school in Grand Prairie. I think that if we have the same tenacity and the same spirit of love and start working together with individuals and not make it about, oh, we're only going to help Black people because we're Black, or we're only going to help Hispanic or Latinos because we're Hispanic or Latino, or we're only going to help white people because we're white. I think that if one, check their own heart, and if all of us do our ancestry DNA, we will find that all of us have some of each other's race inside of our DNA. So when you look at the color is what represents Black history. Black history is a rich history. It embodies Caucasian, it embodies Hispanics and Latinos, it embodies Africans, it embodies Native. And so going forward, if we can just every day get up and say, I'm going to love that person because that's a person. Yeah. Because my heart is right. And I think that's what we all need to focus on and do. As far as organizations need to work together and not be divided. If we all work together, do you know this city would be one of the top cities in the United States if everybody that comes together. Councilman Kurt Johnson, you have done a brilliant job in bringing people together. If it had not been for you, the other three African Americans, and the two Hispanic Latinos that serving currently on the council, they would not be there. You paved the way. Just like Mr. James Kellum, he paved the way for all of you that have served. And I think that in the spirit of love, we need to all work together, and we need to embrace everybody culture. It shouldn't be, well, you feel that your race is superior because you're Black, or your race is superior because you're Caucasian, or your race is superior because you're Hispanic Latino. if you have that type of spirit, there will always be division. And so if people just learn to work together and support everybody's events and activities, then we can have a better city, we can have a better state, and we most definitely can have a better country.
Sounds good. The Most High God commanded us to do one thing. That is to love one another.
Yes.
He didn't say love the blacks more than the whites or the whites more than the brown. He said to love one another. You have the 10 Commandments, but he commanded us to love one another.
Yes.
And that's what I find very difficult when you see there's the love not there because of the hidden agendas. To me,
Yes.
evil lurks in every corner, everywhere.
Yes.
As long as you stay prayed up and protected, you don't have to worry about anything. The Most High God, I can say other things, the Most High God would take care of all that for you, so I never worry about that. So the last question I have, are there any events planned in Grand Prairie to educate and uplift people of color during Black History Month?
Yes, we have a event that's planned, and we welcome everybody to come out. It's going to be on February the 21st, and it's going to be held at the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce, and it's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We actually have a family board game night, and the family board game night, we will be talking about African American history, and we will be embracing all the cultures that make up of African American history. And when I take a look at African American history, it's made up of all the cultures that we see here in Grand Prairie, Texas. So that night, we're inviting everybody to come out while you can really learn about true Black history, some history that you may not know. So we're inviting you to come out. And Councilman Johnson, you had a lot of history today. We most definitely would love you to come out and be a part of that and share more of your history topics that you shared with us today on this show. But come on out March the 6th at the Betty Warmack Library at 10 o'clock. I'm working with Peter Simon. We have it's part of our African American history project, but we're just doing it March the 6th. We will be doing DNA ancestry. So if you don't know who are your relatives and you would like to know some of your relatives, the city of Grand Prairie, at no cost to you, there will be computers there, and they will have the ancestry available, and you will be able to get on and you'll be able to learn more about your family history. Doesn't matter what race you are, come on out on March the 6th at 10 o'clock.
Sounds great. Sounds like some great activities as planned. Thank you for being on the show again, and I'm welcoming you anytime to come out here if you have things to put out.
And before you let me go, I would like to say one more thing. I just want to say that I am proud of my family heritage and history. My family have footprints all over the city of Grand Prairie. My great-grandfather, Frederick Douglass Reed, my grandfather, Leroy Perry, my father, Dr. Charles Perry, and his sister, Helen Perry. I just want to thank my family. Just want to thank my family for having given me this opportunity to grow up in a town that I can feel a sense of proud to be able to say everything may not have always been good. Everything may not have always been favorable for African Americans in Grand Prairie, but I do see the paying it forward. I see it in action, because when I sit here with you, I would never dream of the day that I would be having an interview with a African American that's serving on our city council.
Well, thank you there, Ms. Lucky. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for another episode with On the Square with Councilman Kurt Johnson. So I want to leave everyone with a little peace, love, and soul. Take care.